Welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily. I'm Jason Fitz. She's Caroline Fenton. For the next 2 hours, we have got a ton of excitement and fun for you. We've got a debate for the ages coming in about 15 minutes between TJ Ward and Devin McCourty. That's right. Two former players going to debate this year's AFC Championship game. That'll be electric. Plus, comedian extraordinaire Tommy Davidson going to join us. Grant Liffmann, NBA insider. We are stacked running through and through. A lot to get to. But, Caroline, let's start with some drama. And it's drama coming from L.A. Who knew the Lakers and LeBron could have any drama? Well, a new report from ESPN's Baxter
This is
Holmes
new.
details all. Yeah, well, it's a new report. Drama's never new for this team. Come on now. There is apparently major tension between the Lakers governor, Jeanie Buss, and their superstar, LeBron James. She reportedly had problems with his ego, his influence over player decisions, and even his attitude. She didn't feel that he was respectful enough or thankful enough for them drafting Bronny. This is all wild. Now, Jeanie issued a statement after the article came out saying, quote, "It's really not right, given all the great things LeBron has done for the Lakers, that he has to be pulled into my family drama. To say that it wasn't appreciated is just not true and completely unfair to him." So now we've got he said, she said, it's all in the streets. I don't know what to make of it. Caroline, are we watching the beginning of the end of LeBron and the Lakers?
No, I don't think so. And when we saw all of the initial reporting of, initially when Jeanie Buss said that LeBron wasn't grateful for the organization drafting Bronny, which just confirms what we all already knew was true, that the Lakers only drafted Bronny as a favor to LeBron, and they're just coming out and basically admitting it. Even then, I thought this isn't going to it's not going to rear its ugly head. Like, this isn't going to come to a really brutal and nasty and public divorce. And then here we are not even 24 hours later, and we already have Jeanie Buss kind of walking things back, kind of trying to massage the situation, trying to kind of all bring it down. She just chalks it up to family drama, which if you read the ESPN report, it really is like a season of Succession. It really is all have to do with kind of the Buss siblings and what they wanted to do with the future of the Lakers and how they wanted to divvy up their cajillions of dollars. Rich people fighting about rich people things. So we already have Jeanie Buss trying to kind of walk back the situation. But at its core, I never really thought that this was going to come to anything massive, like a divorce between LeBron and the Lakers, because I don't think anybody actually wants that. Let's look at the LeBron side of things. If LeBron didn't want to be with the Lakers, he didn't have to exercise his player option this year. He could have hit free agency. He could have gone somewhere else. But no, he decided to collect his $50 million check and stay with the Lakers. I think LeBron wants to be in LA. LeBron wants to be a Laker. LeBron wants to enjoy all of the things that come with being a Los Angeles Laker. I think that right now, LeBron's priorities as a player are different than maybe they were 15 years ago. 15 years ago, LeBron just wanted to go wherever he could win a title. I think now LeBron's comfortable being a Laker and wants to be there. I don't think he wants out. On the other side, do you really think Jeanie Buss wants to be the one that's responsible for trading away LeBron James? And I know this version of LeBron, again, is not the same version of LeBron that we had 10, 15 years ago. A 40-year-old LeBron James is much different than what we saw at him in his peak. Right now, LeBron's the third best Laker, but he's still LeBron James. So I don't think that Jeanie Buss wants to be the one to be responsible for shipping him away. He's still an icon. He is still viewed by many as the GOAT. We're not getting into that debate today. So I don't think anybody actually wants LeBron gone. Lagon, if you will.
This, to your point, is why you got to read the entire article and not just some of the quotes from it, because your point on Jeanie Buss is such an important one. So much of what they discuss in the entirety of this article written about the Lakers and the Buss family and the transition to new ownership is about the fact that Jeanie Buss seems to care immensely about how she's perceived. And so I can't take so much of that article talking about Jeanie really worrying about how fans see her and what her legacy is going to be and all of these different things. I can't make that make sense with a trade involving LeBron at any point in the near future. It's going to take LeBron insisting he wants out and Jeanie somehow figuring out how she can be the good guy in all of that. And to your point, I think, look, we got to just understand that some relationships are about love, some relationships are about passion, and some relationships are about, convenience. If you've ever met a couple that's certainly been married for a long time that has a lot of money, it's hard for them to get divorced even if they don't like each other. Why? Because they got a lot invested in where they are. I mean, that to me is a great descriptor of what's happening between LeBron and the Lakers. They both have a lot invested in each other. And while they may not love each other, that doesn't mean that they can't look at it and say, well, even if we would love to see what life is like without LeBron, and LeBron might love to see life somewhere other than in a Lakers jersey, when you start doing a cost analysis of what that actually means for everybody, it's not worth it. We're just going to have to suck it up and live through it. I think that's the chapter we're in. We're in the chapter of convenience, as inconvenient as that is for so many of us around LeBron and the Lakers. Like the greatness of the Lakers' future has nothing to do with LeBron. I cannot say this loud enough. LeBron is not the future of the Lakers, and the Lakers are not the future of LeBron. But right now, together as they sit with the trade deadline a week and a half away or whatever it is at this point, like, there is no world in my mind where we get to LeBron going somewhere else, because it's just too complicated to actually make it happen. That being said, we can live in the world of the imaginary, Caroline. Even if we don't think he's going anywhere, where could he go? If you want LeBron to go somewhere and you say, okay, at the deadline, let's shock the world, let's move LeBron the way we were all shocked when Luka got moved to the Lakers, where would you want him to go where he could make the most impact?
When you talk about a LeBron move, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to come up in conversation for so many obvious reasons. The Cavs could use that kind of spark plug, and also, the poetry of it all, of LeBron going back home. And if this is, in fact, LeBron's final season in the NBA, or let's say maybe next season is LeBron's final season in the NBA, how poetic would it be that LeBron finishes out his illustrious, legendary, historic, greatest of all time career exactly where he started it, at home, where he was drafted? It all kind of gives us the warm fuzzy. So whenever we have the LeBron being traded potentially conversation, I think Cleveland absolutely will be at the top of that list. And I don't hate that. Like, I would be 1000% here for LeBron to Cleveland trade, not even just for the kind of warm fuzzies of it all, but it would also kind of make basketball sense. Cleveland could use LeBron. I mean, even right now, when you have inconsistencies from this LeBron, when you have LeBron, on the court, off the court, kind of in load management version of LeBron, I think you could still kind of use that kind of scoring addition that you would get from adding LeBron James. I also look at Golden State potentially. I don't know how much interest Golden State really has in blowing everything up and trading Draymond and trading Steph, even with the Jimmy Butler injury. I think if I had to put my money on it, I don't think Golden State's really going to do anything. If I was in charge of Golden State, I would look down every single avenue to blow things up. But I understand it's kind of uncomfortable. So if you're going to be old, and if you're going to try and capitalize on this 1 to 2 year window that you have right now with a 37-year-old Steph, a 36-year-old Draymond, whatever it might be, why don't you just go ahead and get older? Why don't you just add another superstar and go all in on selling the most expensive tickets that you can possibly sell when you have Steph, Draymond, and LeBron?
LeBron James.
Either way, LeBron James, you have given me a movie. I either have the old, it's a comedy where it's a bunch of the old guys and all the unks are coming together and it's one last run for the unks, and it's all like in the movie version, they're all 70 years old, but they're out there competing on the court with a bunch of 20-year-olds. That's the Disney movie. Or you've given me the rom-com.
It's like that Tostitos commercial with Jerry Rice and Emmett Smith. They're going back out there.
We either have that or we have the rom-com version, as much as I hate rom-coms, which is just LeBron dressed normal, standing outside the door of a normal house in Cleveland and knocks on the door wearing normal clothes, and the door opens and he just says, I want to come home. That's your tearjerker rom-com moment. Either of those are great. Neither of those would work for me, though. I want to create total chaos. So if I'm going to take him from LA, one of the largest media markets in the world, one of the most significant brands in the world, where am I going to put him in a trade? I'll put him in the Knicks, right? Like, I'm going to take him to New York from it continues the West Coast, East Coast debate. It continues the New York versus LA debate. He stays in a massive media market. And because he's in New York, he becomes not that his brand needs any help, but my God, it's even bigger for all of the, oh my God, can LeBron save the Knicks? Then ESPN can talk about it literally every day. This is where you tell me he doesn't want to go to the Knicks, and I tell you, I don't care. I was just asked where he could go to make the biggest difference. And we can all acknowledge one very important thing. The NBA loves to sell the sizzle of the stories off the court. It's their favorite thing. The NBA, whether it's the people that cover the league, the people that are in the league, the way the league is sectioned themselves out, any way you want to stack it together, the NBA prefers to make sure that we are constantly talking about the stories and the drama happening around the game. There is no spot he could go to that would give me more drama, that would give me more conversation, that would make it the lead every single second on ESPN every single day than if he goes to the Knicks. So LeBron's feelings be damned. I send him to New York. That's the way I get him there. That being said, what about the Lakers fan side of this, Caroline? Like, if you're a Lakers fan, are you feeling better or worse now that we are seeing all of this sort of meltdown in front of us with this piece from ESPN.com?
I'm feeling worse because I know that Jeanie Buss is going to be there and a focal point of the Lakers and calling shots for the Lakers, at least for the next 5 years. I mean, when the sale went through, it was agreed upon that Jeanie Buss would be the team governor for at least 5 years. And now here we have Jeanie Buss airing the team's dirty laundry, giving a peek behind the curtain of all of the arguments that her and her siblings are having behind the scenes. All of this is just so unnecessary. So as long as Jeanie Buss is in the building, I would feel a little bit bleak about the Lakers' future. I mean, just think about it. The darkest times of the Lakers' tenure under the Buss family ownership have been since Jeanie Buss has taken over. I mean, when Jerry Buss was in charge, that was the Lakers. That was the Lakers brand matching what the Lakers' success was on the court. I mean, look, the Lakers won the championship in the bubble, and you can say that's real or fake or not. They won it. They have a ring for it. They have something to show for that. But ever since then, it's just been a low point, at least in the Lakers' modern history. So I would feel worse as long as Jeanie Buss and the Buss family has any sort of say and any sort of ownership within this organization.
Yeah, well, and that comes back to what we were talking about a minute ago with Jeanie Buss worried about how everybody feels about her. I don't know that you can be an owner in pro sports unless you are thick-skinned, and I mean the thickest and thickest of skins. And so whether she's an owner or governor, either way, it bothers. If I'm a Lakers fan, I'm a little bit bothered by this. Now, that being said, the one thing that does make me feel better is the acknowledgement here. Like, look, if the relationship is fractured between the Lakers and LeBron, respectfully, who cares? I mean, one thing that you said earlier that I think needs to be reiterated here is that LeBron is currently the third most important person to the Los Angeles Lakers. So I'm not talking about history. I'm not talking about the GOAT. I'm not talking about anything that LeBron has meant to the NBA. Let's take all of those conversations, put them in Tupperware, and set them aside for leftovers or throw away later. What we need to talk about right now is who are the Lakers today? The Lakers today are Luka's team. The Lakers today are Luka and Austin's team. The Lakers today are Luka, Austin, and, oh yeah, by the way, ... LeBron's team. Like, if we just take all of the brands out of this, who cares if the third most important person on your team demands a trade? The only reason we care is because he's LeBron, and in our minds, oh my God, you can't do LeBron like that. But if you're the Lakers have always been built not just on the legends that they had, but the legends they have. The Lakers have had chapter after chapter defined by superstars that wore that jersey. And right now, the defining superstar that wears the jersey is Luka. So if your other guy isn't happy, screw it. If he wants to play somewhere else, go for it. He's your third most important player. So if the Lakers can get anything in return that puts them in a situation where LeBron goes somewhere else and they're better equipped to win around that man, it's actually a win. It's a win for the Lakers. So with no disrespect to LeBron, who again, is my GOAT, just to be clear for anyone that wants to say I'm a LeBron hater, LeBron is my GOAT. And I don't care at this point whether or not LeBron finishes the season with the Lakers because he's not going to be the reason the Lakers win a championship. All right, Plenty more to break down in drama. We've got a lot of drama in this show, including Buffalo drama. But coming up next, we are going to turn this show into the ultimate debate show. The two guys that know better. Patriots, Broncos, the debate of a lifetime coming next.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knippel and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see, he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knippel. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70, and then like the air went out of the ball for a month, and it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
If you've been watching us throughout the course of the playoffs, you know what we love to do. We turn Yahoo Sports Daily into Yahoo Sports Scratch It Out Debate, where we have two people come in and debate the big matchup that we're looking forward to this weekend. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think we could get better than what we got today. Just when you thought it couldn't get topped, we get TJ Ward, who won Super Bowl 50 with Denver, a 3-time Pro Bowler, debating Devin McCourty, who won Super Bowl 49, 51, and 53 with the Patriots, 2-time Pro Bowl. We got a lot of Super Bowl rings between these two gentlemen that know each other well. Caroline, this is going to be one for the ages. I am excited for. I think we
the
have,
game
here
Caroline
with
us. Oh, may have popped out really quickly.
We got
I'm back. You got me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Apologies for that. Can't live with it. Can't live without technology. But got some legends of the game here with us. But all the pleasantries and all the nice warm and fuzzies, those end right now because it's debate time. Devin, we will start with you with our very first question. I think so much about projecting in the postseason isn't just the amount of talent that you have on your roster, but a lot of it is about trust. So simply put, between these two defenses, which do you trust more to show up on Sunday?
We trust the Patriots defense to show up more because you throw out the regular season stats and all of that. It's all about one game. And I think the Patriots team and what they've built, having Milton Williams and Christian Barmore in the middle, causing havoc, needing at least two double teams to try to move the ball running. And I think Denver's going to come out and say, we have to run the ball, settle the game down for Stidham, get control of the game. And if you look the last two games, Milton Williams healthy, it's been damn near impossible to run the ball on the Patriots. So I look for them to start there. And then I think this secondary prepared their butts off this week and be the team that they were last week, just taking advantage of some bad throws or some bad decisions, getting turnovers. And I think that'll be the lead to the game. Yes, Denver's the better defense overall throughout the regular season, but I think the Patriots defense is playing its best football in the playoffs, and they'll continue that on Sunday.
All right, TJ?
TJ, you buying that?
You know what? I agree with him about them being able to stop the run, but we haven't been the greatest running team, at least straight up the middle, or how you would think that a run game is efficient, right? We use RJ Harvey in many ways. We use him in short passing game. You know, Coach Sean Payton uses our run game a little different. So I think that we kind of eliminate him in that way. And then we talk about our defense. Our defense is second overall in defense this year. You guys just came off of beating the Texans, but I feel the only reason you guys beat the Texans is because of C.J. Stroud and his carelessness with the football. You know, we got Stidham coming in. He is our backup, but he's an experienced backup. And he's coming from the Patriots lineage, per se. You guys drafted him. You guys saw a lot in him. And I don't think he turns the ball over as much. And consistency. I know the playoffs is different than regular season, but we've shown in our first playoff game beating Superman that our defense is not only bringing what we did from the regular season into the playoffs, but we're doing it almost at a higher level, right? And the key to playoff wins is turning the ball over. And, you know, we caused 4 turnovers last week. You guys also caused 5 turnovers. But I think we get more turnovers this game against Drake May. You know, Drake May fumbled the ball, I think, 3 times last week, and he overcame those. But we don't give up those big shots and those big plays across the middle. Our secondary is a little better than or will play a little better than the Texans played this past weekend.
All right, so then let's take a look, because you mentioned Sean Payton there, TJ. So we'll start with TJ, then go to Devin. Which team has the coaching edge? Sean Payton, Mike Vrabel. TJ, who you got in this one?
I'm going to go Sean Payton, and I'm not being biased. You know, Sean Payton actually has a Super Bowl win. He's more than experienced in going deep into these playoffs. He's good. He's amazing with using his backup quarterbacks and, you know, recreating a scheme to come into these type games. And I think that game planning, I think Sean Payton is really second to none when it comes to just game planning for one specific game and one big shot. So we've seen it, whether it's with the Saints, with the Broncos, what he's done, transforming this team into what they are now and soon to be AFC champions.
So I'm going to go opposite TJ. I am going to be a little biased here. I do think if you take strictly Sean Payton, Vrabel, you got to go Sean Payton, exactly why TJ said, because of what he's done. But to me, it's the staff. So once I give you Vrabel and Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator, I would go New England. I think when you talk about game planning and all of that on an offensive side, I think Josh is just as good as any coordinator in the league. I think we see that when we look at Drake May and how he looks in his second year, future MVP of this league. I think that's the difference. I think what Josh McDaniels has brought out of Drake May compared to even what Sean Payton has done with Bo Nix, even though incredible what he's done, Drake May has taken a bigger leap because Josh McDaniels gets to focus just on Drake, just on the offense, on him getting better, while Vrabel handles the team and does everything else in between to make them a better football team and help them play in San Francisco 2 weeks from now. So I would give the edge to Vrabel because he just knows how to hire a great staff. So shout out the mustache in that picture, Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, we got a co-captain too. You know, you can't forget about VJ in that defense.
No, you can't bring him up now. It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah. It's never too late.
There's no rules.
It's never too late.
There's no rules here. Never too late. But our next one, Devin, we will start with you. Then TJ will follow up. So the whole 2016 trend thing on social media has been going on like wildfire. Well, in 2016, almost exactly 10 years ago to the day, you two actually squared off in the AFC Championship game. Denver took down New England 20-18. Peyton Manning outdueled Tom Brady. So Devin, you start. Which quarterback between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning was the most prepared in big games?
Oh damn, y'all went. I thought we were gonna go Drake May and Jarrett Stidham. Y'all went Brady Manning. Okay.
Oh come on, we're not doing that to Jarrett Stidham. We're not doing that to him.
For me, it's Brady. I got to see it. I mean, I think we opened and I think before we came on, he talked about 3 Super Bowl trophies behind me. Tom sits down in his office with 7 behind him, and no knock on Peyton Manning because he was the hardest guy I've ever had to prepare for in a game outside of Brady, just because Brady to me is the ultimate winner. He understands what he needs to do. We've won games. When I was in New England, we won games running the football. Super Bowl 53 was about two backs in the backfield, figuring out how we need to attack and running the ball. We won games where we played, the Baltimore Ravens in a playoff game and we threw the ball 50 times because they shut down the run. So to me, Brady not only prepared, but he was always willing to do whatever it took to win, whether that was him having huge numbers, yards and touchdowns, or it was him turning around, handing the ball off. So both of those guys, great competitors, two of the greatest guys ever played a game. But I'm going TB12.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with PM because I believe Brady threw 3 interceptions that game, right?
He might have.
Yeah, I think he threw 3 interceptions that game. I'm gonna go with PM, man. As great as Brady was, it was a pleasure playing against him, especially in those types of games, the AFC Championship regular season games for the AFC division, number 1 seed, But, PM came in, and I think he was as prepared as he's ever been. We came out early with 2 touchdown strikes, and we used kind of their weakness against them on defense, right? We put one of their best linebackers tackling and rushing the passer into passing situations. And we got 2 early touchdowns on them, and I don't think Brady was prepared for what we were doing defensively. We put a couple of nuances in, and it confused him a lot. And he threw right into our coverage, and we got those interceptions and benefited from those turnovers. So I'm definitely going to say PM on this one. And most importantly, we got the dub.
I knew I wasn't going to have much. As soon as y'all said 10 years ago, I was like, I ain't got much in this one. They got us.
Oh, this is a decade later, still trash talking each other. This is amazing. This game in Denver, you guys know these two crowds, these two fan bases incredibly well. TJ, we'll start with you. Better home field advantage, Denver or New England?
You know what? These are actually, I just said this. Safety first. These are two of the biggest home field advantages in football, right? Foxborough and Mile High. And both fan bases are very passionate and loud, but I'm gonna have to go with what I know, and that's Mile High, man. We don't lose big games in that stadium, especially AFC Championships, and defensively, they're another player on the field for us. Like they become so loud, so interrupting for the offenses, and they're second to none, man. That crowd is as loud as I've ever heard. I had the privilege of playing at Oregon in Eugene, and that stadium is loud. But Mile High, I think it takes the cake when it comes to fan interrupting. So definitely Mile High Stadium, and not to mention the altitude. When you got to come up there and you have to change the altitudes, and it affects performance on the field. That's another thing you have to take into account. And from what I hear, Devin, I don't know, how long does it take for you guys to adjust to that altitude?
Man, I've been biased the whole time, but I'm not going to lie on this one. I think both fan bases, the crowd, they're loud, they're into the game, but that altitude is a difference. I've played up there sometimes where I felt great. I'm running around, and there was other times, and I don't know why. And I've heard, whether it's hotter there or sometimes it's cold. It depends on how the altitude affects you. And I've played games there where it's been an all-out struggle, just can't catch your breath. So I would definitely, because of the altitude, I would give the edge to Mile High because you can't replicate it. The best game we ever played there was that I felt the best was when we played an away game before, and we went to Colorado Springs. And we actually trained there, and then we went to Mexico City. We stayed there for a week. My body got adjusted. I was like, man, this isn't bad at all. But normally showing up on a Friday in Denver to play Sunday, your body it doesn't acclimate fast enough. So I would definitely give the advantage to Mile High for this one. I'll lose this one round.
An advantage Mile High for the ultimate, kind of trash talking that they have out of the visitors' locker room when it says in massive block letters, altitude sickness is real. Ooh, gives me chills just thinking about it. All right, last one.
It's in your subconscious now.
Seriously, for real. All right, we have with us 2 Super Bowl winning, multiple Pro Bowl making, 5'10", exactly, safeties, drafted in 2010. I mean, a whole lot of parallels that we have here between you two. TJ, we'll start with you, Devin. He'll follow. Which of those two is the better looking man?
I wasn't expecting that.
That was that. You caught me off guard with that one, man. You know, if I said anything but myself, you definitely have to question me. Hey, but we both look good in that picture, man. I love that.
That's not even me. That's
smooth,
Jay.
Man. Oh, that's
Jason
right
right
man.
there.
Got Jason on there. Hey, that is Jason.
That's a show
man,
tradition. It feels like we put the wrong McCourty up a bunch of times. I blame Getty Images for labeling them wrong. It's a show tradition. Go ahead, TJ. Go ahead.
Hey, man, but look, I'm second to none. You could put anybody in this interview. I ain't gonna say I'm pretty dapper right there. You know, I clean up quite well. So definitely myself. I'm not. I really got the proof is in the pudding. I can't really go. I ain't gonna break it down too much, but yeah, man, that's a good looking guy right there. I'm not gonna hold you.
We both gonna say the same thing. No need to argue. Just pull up the photos. Hey man, all I'm gonna say is 2026, man, bald is in. You know what I mean? It's all about the bald head, keeping the being clean. You gotta have the bald guys around you. It helps everything else out. The women just love the bald heads right now. So I'm going bald head for the win in 2026.
Bald heads are having a moment.
But here's the thing. I have a lot of tattoos, and I shaved my head last year, bumped into somebody in the grocery store accidentally, and they suddenly got out of my way. What I didn't realize is the bald turned into intimidating. I don't know if it's because the tattoo. I don't know. Combo for me. Bald made me too angry. I don't know.
Hey, hold on, man. You're not bald. You can't be running with us. There's too much hair to run with the bald.
I took it off by choice. I did it by choice.
They figure you got nothing to lose when you bald.
Caroline, you get to declare the winner of our debate. Who we got in this one? Who is our champion?
Wonderful debating today, gentlemen. I will say, though, I am a proof of concept type of person. Sean Payton's got proof of concept in the postseason that Mike Vrabel just does not have. And I have heard the lore and the stories of Mile High Stadium. That home field advantage, that is real. I know you got a backup quarterback in there, backup quarterback that hasn't thrown a pass in the last 2 seasons, but I'll take coach, I'll take home field advantage, and I will take the defense that has been stifling all season long. So I'm riding with the Broncos. TJ wins today's debate.
Hey, Caroline. You picked the wrong side. Pat's going to the Super Bowl.
Look,
I've
TJ,
heard that
we're gonna
far
send
too
you
many times in my lifetime.
We're going to send you a Yahoo Sports Daily mug. I only trust that the next time you come on, you'll use the Yahoo Sports Daily mug. And Devin, you know, we can send you one too if you want to prop it up next to those Super Bowl trophies. I realize, like, you know, you got some shelf space up there. You want to just squeeze in a little Yahoo Sports Daily mug.
Now I'm going to wait for the Patriots to send me a Super Bowl 60 mug, and I'll bring that on next time.
That's perfect. Gentlemen, we appreciate your
It's
time,
been a
your
long
expertise.
Super Bowl drought in Foxborough.
Oh my God!
You guys are due for one.
Oh my God! The level as a Raiders fan, the level of disdain I feel for both of you and what you've done to my life is just not fair. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. TJ, Devin, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the game. Thanks for debating with us. We appreciate you guys.
All right, guys. I'll see you out there, D. I know you're gonna be there.
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
TJ.
Regardless.
Hey, we're going to be there too, so come hang out with us. All right, we'll keep it going. The Bills had the weirdest press conference we've seen in a long time. The question is, did it actually do damage to the way the franchise and the opening job are perceived? We'll answer that next.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
So now I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry the torch during this program. Like I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, look around, and no furniture around, but hey, he's going to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
Yeah, Can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it, but I'm here to tell you the true story.
That's Bills owner Terry Pecula interrupting answer on a question about not specifically Keon Coleman. Should be noted the question that was asked was about the weapons or lack thereof around Josh Allen. So he interrupted to make sure that it was a Keon Coleman conversation. An interesting look as we now get our first look at whatever the Bills are going to be in this new chapter. And Caroline, it just felt like good intentions, poor execution yesterday for Terry Pegula, the owner of the Bills, to sit in front of a microphone for the first time in several years, because it felt like every answer he gave only created more questions, only created more conversation, only created more controversy. A bit stunning to see an owner take that moment and take something that was already rocky and make it even worse in the eyes of many.
Look at Brandon Beane's face in that photo. Is that the face of a man that looks super comfortable? That is the face of a man that is saying in his head, stop talking, please stop talking, because you are only making everything worse. And to your point, it was a good intentioned press conference, but I am of the belief that less is more. Just don't, if you won't get in trouble for anything that you don't say. And yesterday was an hour-long press conference, and that was just a 30-second tidbit. That listening to it, I wrote down 3 different things that I have questions about. First of all, Terry Pegula saying, I don't know how, for why, for some reason, Brandon Beane is catching heat for the Keon Coleman pick. He's the general manager. He's in charge of drafting the players. He is in charge of building the roster. That is why he's catching heat for it, because it's his job. And the second thing is, saying that Brandon Beane, he was being a team player. He's the general manager. If he doesn't want to draft the guy, he doesn't have to draft the guy. And what it does is just protect everyone's ego within the room. You are just squarely throwing Sean McDermott under the bus for all of the deficiencies of this team. You know, Fitz, I know, and we all know. Every single Bills fan in America knows that it's not just a Sean McDermott problem in Buffalo. That when you consistently fall short of expectations, when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the planet, and you don't make a Super Bowl, everyone is culpable. So to say, it was the coaching staff, Brandon was just being such a good team player. He was just being such a good teammate here and doing what the coaching staff said. That's not accurate. That's not correct. And even if it is accurate and correct, you don't have to say it. The third thing is Keon Coleman's on the team. Keon Coleman is currently on the roster. It's not even been a week since the last time that Keon Coleman laced up in a Bills uniform. How does Keon Coleman feel about all of this? You're using Keon Coleman as an example for falling short of expectations this season. He's still on the team. And I know that the overwhelming sentiment is that Keon Coleman won't be on the team long term and probably won't be on the team next year. But it is your responsibility as an owner and as a general manager to keep everything in-house. And what you're doing is airing the team's dirty laundry, and you're throwing one of your current players under the bus in the process. Bad luck all the way around, and that is just off of 30 seconds of an hour-long press conference.
There is so much nuance to this. As you've seen a couple of the tweets that have been up here while you were talking about, the fact that Brandon Beane came out and said, hey, Keon was going to be our pick. Now there's combine video saying, glad he ran at that speed, better chance we can get him. All of these things. Look, I want to remind everybody that the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. I mean, it is very possible because I will point out after the press conference to one of the beat reporters, Pegula clarified that he wasn't saying that it was specifically Sean McDermott that was stumping for Keon Coleman. It was another offensive coach, but he wouldn't name which coach. We don't know. What we also don't know is when that happened. It is perfectly possible that the coaching staff went to the GM and the scouts in general, as is common when they fall in love with certain prospects, months before the draft and said, man, we really love Keon Coleman. Like, it's possible that they made that clear long before all of it. So there is gray area on a lot of this. But I keep coming back to Terry Pegula doing the one thing you're never supposed to do in an NFL locker room. And I've had a couple of former players tell me after they played that one of the things they learned quickly was never be the reason that your teammates have to answer questions. Well, Terry Pegula's answer, invoking Keon Coleman's name in that situation, created questions that Keon has to answer. Fine. As people have pointed out, he probably woke up today to thousands of social media posts. Yesterday, his phone blew up. It was an inconvenience to his life. But let's not get it twisted and pretend that that doesn't also mean that everybody else isn't going to have to answer those questions. Now, if Keon Coleman isn't part of the team, fine. But we're still going to expect that whenever there's the opportunity to talk to Bills players, there's going to be questions to be asked about this. And even more than that, how often do we pick and choose when we say, oh, it's important, got to do that because it sends the right message to the locker room? Well, if we're going to believe that making sure you reward your own players with contracts and making sure that you take care of the people in the building, if we're going to tell you all the time that that matters to the internal vibe in the locker room, then let's also acknowledge that every single person on that team in that locker room that may be friends with Keon Coleman just watch the team owner stand there and eviscerate the player that is still on the roster. So there's a place and time for all of this. If Terry Pegula wants to get rid of Keon Coleman and then go out there and rake him over the coals, do it that way. But to do it this way, you can't tell me that that doesn't create conversation in the locker. Oh, man, you saw what he just did there. Wow. Like, this is just, to me, all of this, Caroline, is such a reminder that when you have a great quarterback, a quarterback that's so good that you become competitive, we forget about how many warts there might be in your organization. We constantly sit here and presume that the Bills are a well-run organization because they win a lot of football games. But maybe what we're about to find out is that the Bills have won a lot of football games because Josh Allen has been superhuman, so superhuman that it's led to wins on the field, and so superhuman that it's masked incompetence off the field, because yesterday certainly looked like a hell of a lot of incompetence from everybody that's left in Buffalo that pretends to be an owner or a team president or everybody else that's in that organization.
That's the importance of the quarterback position. An elite quarterback is the ultimate deodorant to any kind of stink that happens in your organization. I think Joe Burrow is another example of that. We all know that Bengals ownership is cheap because the Bengals in its entirety of its existence was terrible. I mean, they're a total nightmare of an organization. Joe Burrow comes in, and all of a sudden you're in the Super Bowl 2 years later. That's what elite quarterbacks do. And that's what maybe Josh Allen has been doing, which is why I think it's even more staggering when it came out that Terry Pegula did not tell Josh Allen that they were firing Sean McDermott. The one saving grace, the one bright spot in this organization is Josh Allen. The reason why I think even with all of these, the questions about incompetence in ownership, the reason why I still think the Bills are a great job, one of the top jobs open, is because of Josh Allen. Why do we feel like the Bills are Super Bowl contenders every single year? Josh Allen. Why do free agents want to come to Buffalo? Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the Buffalo Bills. So for Terry DePagula to come out and admit that he didn't even consult with Josh Allen before firing Sean McDermott, I think is incompetence. Now, I don't disagree with Terry Pagula's thought process that he expressed in the press conference. After the loss, he looked around. Josh Allen was crying. The entire locker room was somber and sad and crying. And he said that's when he knew that he needed to make a change. Now, I don't think that just because your players look sad means that you should fire the coach, but I do understand the thought process of these guys are so devastated because they know that they have a window that will eventually close one day. And every year, it's the same thing. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing every single year and expecting different results. The Bills have been on this hamster wheel for the last 5+ years. I understand Terry Pagula's thought process of we have to do something different. We have to change something. We cannot come back next season and run back the exact same thing that we already did and sell that to our fan base and sell that to our locker room. We need something to change. There is also, proof of concept that if a coach doesn't win in the first 5 years of his tenure, he might never win. So I understand Terry Pagula's thought process, but to not inform Josh Allen, the focal point of your organization, the saving grace for your organization, Josh Allen should be informed in every single decision that this organization makes. Who they draft, who they hire, who they fire. So I think it was very short-sighted of Terry Pagula to, one, do, and two, admit to not even telling Josh Allen about firing Sean McDermott.
It suddenly what looked like the best job, and is still the best job in the eyes of many, but that job suddenly looks very unstable behind the scenes. So we'll see how it impacts, or if it impacts, the candidates that are considering coming there. Terry Pagula was not the only owner that spoke yesterday. Coming up, Robert Kraft laid it out simply. He said the quiet thing out loud. What's the new NFL schedule going to look like? Kraft clued us in. We'll react to it next.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here, because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert, getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. I'm
kind of okay with it.
No, I'm not. I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
Patriots owner Robert Kraft revealed the NFL's upcoming priorities on a radio appearance, saying an 18-game regular season with a 2-game preseason and an international game for each team every season. Now, if you're watching this right now saying, I feel like I've heard that, it's because we've speculated about this being the possibility of the future for a very long time. But Caroline, now you have an NFL owner, a powerful NFL owner, a known NFL owner, an important NFL owner sitting in front of a microphone and saying the quiet part out loud. This becomes very clear now that we know what the league's intentions are. Do you like this plan?
No, I don't like it at all. I don't like change overall. So let me just couch that by saying that I know myself and I don't like it when things change. So I don't like change, period. But I will break down each reason why I do not like this, despite that it's the fact that it's just change. And I can look at it from a fan perspective, and then I can project myself into an NFL locker room, or if I'm a coach or if I'm a general manager. We had so many injuries this season. Is it more than normal, or does it just feel like it's more than normal because it's recency bias? I don't know. But we had star players go down. I mean, the Indianapolis Colts were on a heater, and then Daniel Jones goes down for the entirety of the season. Look at the 49ers, just the 49ers. George Kittle, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy at times. How many season-ending injuries? Tyreek Hill, as he's, waving to the crowd as he's getting carried off on the cart. How many Micah Parsons, season-ending injuries we got to absolute certified star players that derailed the seasons of their respective teams. You want to add an 18th game to that? And I know it's just one game, but just one game can increase the likelihood of a season-ending, career-altering injury to an individual player. Do we think that players are going to sign up for that? Do we think the NFLPA is going to sign up for that? And what kind of compensation do we get for an 18th game? Because I'm a player. I'm not working more for not more money. And then the international games. As a fan, I'm good on the international games. I don't need to wake up at 8 a.m. to catch an international game. And I want fan bases. I want cities to have those games. I want fans to have another opportunity to watch their favorite team. I want local businesses to have another opportunity to cash in on the payday that comes with having a home football game. And the players, that's long travel. That is a long time on a plane. That's a long time to get acclimated to a time change. Who does international games actually benefit? Like that one random Texans fan in Ireland? Like, does anybody really feel like they are being served and fulfilled from these international games, other than fans getting an opportunity to explore London, which is very fun? And then the preseason. I don't care about preseason. If we had no preseason football games, I would be fine. At night, I would live. How do coaches feel about that, though? Because season games are good opportunities for coaches to assemble the practice squad, great opportunities for some of these to get opportunities on NFL rosters. So I don't love it.
Yeah, so I agree with the sentiment of a lot of what you said, but I also disagree with portions of it, to be honest. I'm with you. Preseason football is just a waste. It's a bore. I don't care about it. I think that more important than preseason football are joint practices. They could get away from preseason games altogether and instead just do joint practices. But the owners are never going to lose the money of that, right? Like they charge full regular season game prices for preseason games. So that's part of why they don't want the inventory to go down. That being said, I want more inventory. Like I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really, this sounds harsh the way I say this. I don't really care about the player injury issue. This is all collectively bargained. The NFL players get a percentage of the overall revenue earned by the league. So the more games that there are, the more revenue there will be. The more revenue there is, the more the owners make, but also the more the players have to split. They get a percentage of the overall revenue. So players have told us time and time again that they care more about money than they do about long-term health care. Every time they've come to the table, to the CBA, and had the chance to truly change the fortunes of the future of NFL players, they have not gotten it done. So I'm not going to fight for something that the players aren't fighting for themselves. The players are not willing to lock out to prevent future games. The players have not been willing to lock out for lifetime health care. If you talk to most players, they'll tell you that those things, health care particularly, matter the most to them. but they never fight for it in a meaningful way. So if they're not going to fight for it, I'm not going to fight for them. NFL players are rich, many of them, and they have the opportunity to fight against billionaires to get whatever they want. I don't care. I no longer care. What I care about is I want as much football as I can possibly get. And yes, injuries are tragic. Yes, injuries are part of the league this year. But Micah Parsons didn't get injured because of an extra game. He got injured because of a freak play. Even Bo Nix didn't go down because of an extra game. He went down because it was a freak play in the playoffs. Injuries are just going to be part of it. I think they'll need to worry about roster expansion. I think they'll need to have more players on the roster so you can better backfill when you have injuries. They're going to have to figure out ways to work around it, which ultimately means more players are going to get employed. More players are going to make money long-term from being able to be in the NFL as the 56th player on a roster if they expand the rosters overall. So I know it sounds cold and callous when I say it, but I want more football. And if the players aren't going to fight for their own health and safety, if they're not willing to shut the entire league down to do whatever it takes to get better health and safety for themselves, I'm not going to fight for them. They can fight for themselves. They collectively bargain. They don't. So I don't really give a damn about their injuries. I give a damn about more football.
But what sells tickets? The 56th player on the roster who got their opportunity in the NFL, or Jaden Daniels, or Cam Scadaboo, or Malik Neighbors, or Micah Parsons. All of those players, star players who suffered season-ending injuries. And no, they didn't get injured because it's an extra game, but the more games means higher opportunities and higher likelihoods of freak plays.
But my argument to that is that, A, the majority of teams pre-sell their season tickets. They're sold out. Everyone's already spent the money. And then even above and beyond that, NFL fans do not have the self-control to not watch the product and not spend their money on it. I'm a great example of my team has been trashed for the better part of 20 years. And every year I still go out and buy Sunday Ticket. Every year I buy all of the different streaming services. Every year I buy a couple of new hoodies. I get new hats. I buy new gear because I don't have the self-control to stop watching it. Most fans are a lot like me. I mean, even though we're talking about the catastrophic level of injuries, we're just coming off the highest rated Saturday playoff game in history. So like, if you look at the way the ratings have gone continually, even without these star players on the field, people still flock to watch it. People are absolutely infected with love for the NFL, no matter what it is. So I honestly, you're right. The bottom of the roster doesn't make money. I just don't trust most fans, Caroline, to stop spending money.
Well, the NFL is going to make money no matter what. I mean, it's the most powerful being in sports. It has broken my brain, and I think it's broken the mold for all of professional sports, that no matter what happens in the NFL, it only gets more popular. The MLB has had issues with viewership numbers and popularity. The NBA is going through a viewership crisis, not the NFL. So I'm with you that as long as whatever the NFL wants to make a made-for-TV event, it's going to make money and people are going to pay attention to it. Like, we as fans, we watch the Underwear Olympics because it has something to do with the NFL. We watch preseason football games. We watch the Hall of Fame game, even though it really doesn't matter. We are all infatuated with and intoxicated with the NFL. So if the NFL wants to add a 37th game, it'll make money and we'll watch. Like, I am not disputing that at all. The more NFL products that exist, the more money the league will make. But I also do wonder with the current CBA, it's up in 2030. And I do believe they have the opportunity to revise it, if not this season, the next season. So I'm genuinely asking, if the league decides to add an 18th game, let's say next season, under the current CBA, will players be able to capitalize on the TV revenue right away, or do they wait until 2030?
No, they get it right away because they get a portion. The salary cap is predicated on the portion of whatever it is, 49 something point something percent of the revenue earned by the league becomes the salary cap. So that's why last year, when everybody thought the salary cap was going to be short, it turned out to be huge because they made more money. Whenever the league makes more money. So if the league turns around and renegotiates TV deals, which they would be able to do by having an extra game, all of a sudden that's more money in the kitty. And then immediately that changes the salary cap. Immediately that's why we're going to inevitably see quarterbacks making $100 million a year in a couple of years because simply the money is there to be made. We have plenty of time to figure this out. Part of the reason the conversation is happening, though, is because a lot of fans like me miss watching their favorite team play. One person that doesn't miss watching his favorite team play because they're still going, Tommy Davidson, legend, comedian, comic. He will join us next. I'll learn how to speak. He'll join us next. We'll talk to him about his beloved Seahawks.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Push out.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knipple. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
Look, you're looking at the Super Bowl odds via BetMGM right now, and you see there, Seahawks, Rams, both shorter odds than the Patriots, the Broncos, the longest, obviously, as we all await to see what it looks like with Jarrett Stidham. But Caroline, just looking at this and thinking about what we're getting this weekend with the NFC Championship game, in a matchup where these two teams split this season, where if you add their two games together, they were differentiated by 1 point. If that's not good enough for you, they were differentiated by 1 yard of total offense over 2 games. You are talking about absolutely as even as could be. In some ways, as disrespectful as this sounds to the matchup we just previewed that's taking place in Denver, feels to me like the Super Bowl is actually in Seattle this weekend. The two best teams in the NFL for the duration of the season are taking on each other for the NFC Championship game.
The NFC Championship game is the Super Bowl. And it's nothing new, right? We knew that the Super Bowl more than likely would go through the NFC West. And I think it is just the perfect poetry that these two teams are in the NFC Championship game. I think the winner of this game should be favored to win the Super Bowl. I think the winner of this game will win the Super Bowl. And it's, look, you look at the AFC side of things. On the Denver side of things, if Jarrett Stidham is able to win Denver 1 game to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl, I'm not trusting Jarrett Stidham in a Super Bowl game. And also, you're not in the cozy confines of Mile High Stadium anymore. And you look at the Patriots side of things, Drake May is playing his worst football of the season right now. Yes, the Patriots defense has shown up and showed out what they did to the Chargers, holding the Chargers to less than 300 total yards and forcing 5 turnovers against the Texans. Yes, I will give credit to the Patriots defense and the fact that they're playing their best football right now. But the offense has not looked great. The Patriots probably lose that game to the Texans if CJ Stroud doesn't throw 4 interceptions in the first half. That's a pretty big stroke of luck. The Patriots also, let's acknowledge, the Patriots have had an easy and light schedule this season. The Patriots have had, I think, the easiest road to the Super Bowl. They play the Chargers, a team that is decimated, and then CJ Stroud threw 4 picks against in the divisional round of the playoffs. So I think, yes, the NFC Championship game is the Super Bowl.
Well, we'll get thoughts on this now from one of the biggest Seahawks fans in all the land, also a comedian legend, in living color legend, stand-up comic, diehard Seahawks fan, Tommy Davidson joining us now. Tommy, really appreciate your time, man. So peek behind the curtain. We had Jay Farrell
Wrong
on
shirt,
yesterday
wrong
from
shirt,
Saturday
wrong
Night Live. Okay.
Wrong shirt. I know.
Jay, okay. Well, we'll forgive you. We'll forgive you. Jay yesterday made it clear that a Hawk can never lift a Ram, and as a result, the Seahawks cannot take on the Rams. He's a big Rams fan. What say you to Jay?
It is kind of the Super Bowl. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks, and one can establish himself for now on, and one can establish himself for now on. I mean, it's on both of them really. So I think it's going to be a battle, and I think she's right. This is sort of the Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl is still the Super Bowl. It's the two best that make it to the end, you know. And I got personal feelings here because I am in the house with anti-Viking people. They're Seahawk people, and I don't know what to do because I'm a Viking guy, and we lost a QB to these guys. So that's where I am. I hope that was
Why
similar
the
to
Vikings?
That is
no. Why the Vikings? What drew you to them?
I've been a Viking fan since they had all white running backs. Okay, so you know how long ago that was, man. Okay, that was Jim Osborne and Ed Marinaro. Okay, now I am a Hurricane fan because Chuck Foreman, the running back for Miami, finally was the first black running back, but they had an all-black defense at the time. So Monday Night Football, playoffs, Super Bowls, we won all the time. Okay, Bud Grant, Francis Asbury Tarkington. We were in the dance so many times with the Dolphins, you know, with the Steelers, you know, the old films, you know, the bull ring in the center of Larry Zonko's helmet served as a batter ram as it gave the Minnesota people, Purple People Eater, indigestion through the whole fourth quarter. And then Francis Asbury Tarkington took the helm. So anyway, I always on the school bus was winning. Love Minnesota all the way. We've lost some really big teams. You know, the Cole Pep Moss team. I mean, it just goes on and on. And a fan is a fan. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I should have been a Redskin, you know, a Commanders fan, but nah, it was Minnesota, man.
Tell me what it's like.
They don't like that.
As a Vikings fan, to watch Sam Darnold get the Seahawks to the NFC Championship game and potentially even the Super Bowl.
Really? You asking me that?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, in losing him to Seattle, is losing a lot of TV for me in football. And it reduces one of the best receivers in the league, less camera time. But humbly, both the quarterback and the receiver. I'm a football fan first, right? Both the quarterback and the receiver are overachievers, and we just love people's success in the league that have all the odds against them. So, and these Seahawks fans are home, so I'm giving them, they're harder on me than I am on them. They just won't shut up.
All right, Tommy, I was excited to have you on. I'm excited that we're getting to talk to you because In Living Color was one of the most influential shows for me watching growing up. Well, we had Jay Farrell on. We mentioned it the other day. Jay did some great impressions for us, but you worked with some of the best comic minds out there. So let's talk about some of the GOATs. Like for you, when you look back with all of the talent that you were working with in Living Color, who was the one person that stood out to you that even then you looked at and said, yeah, this person is absolutely going to explode?
Jim. Me and Jim were friends at the Comedy Store. We met years ago before even In Living Color was even in the horizon, you know. Our oldest girls are best friends. You know, we did birthday parties and the whole nine. And that's the guy that deserved it because he works his ass off. And I always wanted to be in Fire Marshal Bill with him. Nobody did because he would go until 3 a.m. You know, there you go. He would work till 3 a.m. and so would I. So we had the same work ethic. Our friendship has lasted throughout the years. We did Ace Ventura together, and you know, he loves my baby girl. You know, when we go to his house, they just disappear for hours and come back. So Jim is my guy, and mostly because of the weapons that we have. You know, we have those weapons where we can play offense and defense. When I say we can be off camera funny and be the star in the sketch funny too. You know.
So you have the wonderful privilege of getting to see off-camera funny Jim Carrey, something that not a lot of us get to see or to listen to. So what is something about Jim Carrey or your relationship with him, your relationship with the whole cast that maybe we on the outside don't know?
We all are children of entertainment. We all love movies. We all love music. We all love sitcoms. We love cartoons. So it was a perfect eclipse because we were downloaded by a lot of stuff. I mean, from Batman, Flintstones to Beverly Hillbillies to, you know, Green Acres to Laugh-In to Seals and Yarnell to the Poseidon Adventure. I mean, it just went on, and we all have that in us. So when Keenan came along, who's like Professor Xavier, you know, for the X-Men, he put all these mutants together, taught us how to work together, and we kicked butt.
Was there a spot, because this was such an influential show for me, but I also grew up on SNL, right? And to me, what was crazy is, for anyone that doesn't remember in that era, it felt like In Living Color was about to supplant SNL, that SNL was no longer as culturally relevant and In Living Color was hitting something. Did you guys feel like you were about to take down the ultimate brand in sketch comedy?
You know what? We never looked at it like that. We just were glad to have the opportunity because we were out there, you know, at jobs, you know, catching the bus and working at places and going to the comedy stores and trying to find a place in it, auditioning and doing all this stuff. So once we got there, we were so relieved, but we knew that Saturday Night Live was the standard. Now, would we top it? We never thought that. I just think that we were just a bunch of misfits that loved to laugh. So much so that we would drive Keenan crazy. He told us you can have your own take. So we'll do one take, then you guys can have your own take and you can do whatever you want to do, right? But we did whatever we wanted to do every take. Finally, he came back and said, you guys are going to get us taken off the air. You cannot keep doing this. And he left the room and we... So I think that's, you know what I mean?
So, you know, our producers were telling us about how they grew up on In Living Color. I grew up on Proud Family. That was my show when I was a kid. It's a show that you were on as well.
Okay.
Yes, I loved that show. So when it comes to finding the voice for an animated character or, you know, finding a character's persona that you're playing, whether it's in a movie or in a sketch, what's your process?
I got to see the character. As long as I can see it, I can do it. You know, as long as I can hear it, I can do it. You know, it took me a long time to get President Obama, former President Obama, down because I don't do impressions like, oh, let me study it. I have to hear it. So once I've heard it enough, it just comes out automatic. Like, you know, like the playoffs. You know, as soon as the quarterback gets going, his ankle gets broke. You know, and no one knows what's going to happen. So there's a brand new quarterback in a brand new space going in to the playoffs. And you're wondering again, what's going to happen to the Broncos? And everybody's wondering what happened to Russell Wilson at the same time. He could have went to the Minnesota Vikings and Tommy'd be happy right now, I think. What? That's not an answer. But, you know, the good thing about doing cartoons is they don't have to see my face, you know. So I can stretch that voice. You know that voice. Judy! I can stretch out that guy. On camera, we can't help it. It's our ego. We want to look good on camera. So take if I'm hanging on a cliff in a movie and I'm about to meet my demise, I'm hanging on the cliff. Somebody help. You guys got to help me. If I'm the cartoon, I go, so it's a total difference. And it fits the cartoon,
Tommy, I got to take you back to 1992, okay? Because I'm going to go back to In Living Color, 1992. They aired a live special during the Super Bowl halftime show. A lot of people don't realize this. 20 million viewers left the Super Bowl broadcast to go watch you guys at halftime. Now, for everybody that doesn't realize what happened from that, the next year, Michael Jackson made his halftime debut. The NFL changed the entire way they do business. As somebody that grew up in the music business like I did, you guys helped create the most incredible phenomenon in entertainment of the halftime show. Did you know at that moment that you were being disruptors like that?
We did know that we were going to get the halftime, and we know we had something for America. The good thing about In Living Color was America found out that black, white, brown, we all laugh at the same things, and so that was so bright, a bright moment for that. But during that time at the show, I was having one of those weeks where I didn't feel like I was being treated fair, and so, Keenan comes in the locker room, right? Like I'm trying to make a correlation here, and he starts pointing out what everybody's going to do for the Super Bowl show. So he goes, David, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. Jim, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. And I'm going, see, they're not using me enough, blah, 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 right? And then he goes to Kelly, you're doing this. He goes to Jamie, you're doing this. And by the end of it, I'm going, see, I'm not being treated fair, man. And Keenan turns to me and goes, Tommy, you're hosting because you're the only one that can handle live. And I was like, sorry. So I guess I felt like the Broncos quarterback right now.
That's crazy. It's crazy to me that moment changed such a popular, like when everybody's watching Bad Bunny this year, just remember there wouldn't even be a Bad Bunny halftime show if it wasn't for In Living Color. Yeah. Tommy, it's an honor to get to talk to you, man. We're all huge fans. We really appreciate your time. I hope the Vikings get it all figured out. May JJ be the quarterback that you hope he is, and hopefully you can come on and hang out with us when the Vikings are headed to the Super Bowl. We appreciate your time, Tommy. Thanks for joining us.
One of these days, man, you never give up, right? I mean, the Patriots won the Super Bowl. When I was a kid, you caught with that Patriots hat. So
that is fair. We'll get there someday, Tommy. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Tommy Davidson.
Man.
Joining the show. It's great work from him. All right. Couple of big names that are out there. We're going to figure out how qualified the candidates actually are in the NFL. We'll do it next.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
So now I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry the torch during this program. Like I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around and no furniture around, but hey, he's gonna have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy.
which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
John McClain, the legend, tweets out, in 2020, Clay Kubiak was coaching at Strake Jesuit High School in Houston. Now he's the 49ers OC. His older brother, Clint, is Seattle's OC and play caller who's destined to be an NFL head coach like their dad, Gary. Clay should be the third Kubiak to be an NFL head coach. It's interesting when you start looking at some of the family lineage that comes into these conversations. So we figured we would take a look at it in the best way possible. For this show, we would look at some of these candidates through the lens of Nepo baby or real deal. That's right. Are you just where you are because of your last name, or are you actually the real deal? Let's start with Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak, Nepo baby, real deal. What say you, Caroline Fenton?
No, Clint Kubiak is the real deal. I mean, he comes from the Shanahan coaching tree, and then he branches off of the coaching tree and proves himself as, look, I don't just need Kyle Shanahan kind of looking over my shoulder to be able to call the shots. I can do it with a guy that a lot of people have had big question marks about in Sam Darnold. So I always look at OCs and I always say, okay, are you successful because you coached under this certain coach, the Shanahans, the McVays, the O'Connells? And also, are you a hot name on the coaching carousel just because you were a coordinator for an elite quarterback? I look at Brian Callahan with the Bengals. We figured the answer out to that one. Nepo, baby. Are you just, a guy that's been coordinating for Patrick Mahomes, for Josh Allen, so on and so forth? No, Clint Kubiak's been able to prove that he is a legitimate candidate with what he's done with the Seahawks this past year, Fitzy.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that he's the real deal. And, obviously I've never made it a hidden thing that I would like to see him be the head coach of my beloved Raiders. Obviously that I'm just admitting my bias coming in to this conversation. I think, though, a lot of it comes from a couple of things. Let's talk about the fact that Sam Darnold, while he hasn't played as well over the course of the last month, certainly did thrive early in this offense. I think that's a statement. Also, look at the development of Jackson Smith and Jigba. Sometimes we just presume that great players would be great no matter what. I think when you look at the way that Jackson Smith and Jigba has grown into becoming one of, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL, and also his ability to keep a two-headed monster happy at the running back position. Not everybody could keep Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker both engaged, knowing that some days their touches are limited, but he's really developed a varied game plan with both of them. So I think when you look at maximizing the skill of the quarterback, he's done that. Maximizing the development of the players around that, he's done that. I think he calls good, patient game plans. I think he's the real deal. I'm all in on Clint Kubiak. Now, Clay Kubiak, that's where I draw the Nepo line. Clay Kubiak, you get the Nepo title here. And look, it's not because I don't like Clay Kubiak or because he's the offensive coordinator position for the 49ers he hasn't done a good job with this year. It's just that's basically all he has on his resume is a little bit of time under Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. That's not enough for me. I need a little bit more time on task. And also remembering Clint is running an offense for a defensive-minded head coach that is saying, hey, go do your thing. At some point, we're all going to wonder how much is Clay and how much is Kyle Shanahan in that San Francisco offense. So it's a little early for Clay. That puts him in the Nepo category to me.
Yeah, that he's kind of real for me. Because if I'm, an owner or GM across the league looking for what works in the NFL, well, coming from the Shanahan coaching tree, that works. So that's exactly where Clay Kubiak is coming from. So I think for that, it's kind of real, but also kind of Nepo. Because when we hear the last name Kubiak, at least for me, I associate that with Clint Kubiak and how highly sought after he is in this coaching cycle. And to your point, he doesn't have a lot of experience. Are we going to just give him the benefit of the doubt that, look, I know he doesn't have a ton of experience, but like his last name is Kubiak. We have to be honest with ourselves. There is a little bit of an element there. So I think he's kind of real for being from the Shanahan coaching tree, but also kind of Nepo.
I mean, come on, let's just go full into the bit. We're announcing our new head coach. It's Kubiak, and everybody smiles and they cheer and they're like, ta ta ta.
Clint,
Clay. Ooh.
Clay.
Okay, that's let's just be. We got his brother. We got Clint Kubiak's brother. It just doesn't feel as
As
exciting
the
to me.
youngest
What about
child, I do feel a little bit of empathy for the younger sibling who is living in their older sibling's shadow. So I think I have a little soft spot in my heart there for Clay Kubiak.
Look, I am also the youngest child, and I'll tell you, do not ever ask my brother to play a violin. Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur, Nepo baby or real deal? All right, so Mike LaFleur, not Matt LaFleur, Mike, the offensive coordinator for the Rams. Nepo baby, real deal. What do you think?
Also, the less better looking LaFleur. Not that that matters for anything, but just would like to put that out there. Again, real because he comes from the McVay coaching tree. Coaching trees matter, in my opinion. Who you coach under matters, in my opinion. Now, that can be a two-sided street. That sometimes you are just kind of there and you're the one, just that gets credit for a lot of things when it's really all of the credit should go to the head coach. But we have a long list of very successful coaches that have come from being the offensive coordinator under Sean McVay. And look at Kevin O'Connell. I view Kevin O'Connell as one of the best coaches in the National Football League, and he served this exact same role that Mike LaFleur is serving under. Now, the name LaFleur, we're all going to associate with Matt LaFleur. Are we giving Mike LaFleur, am I giving Mike LaFleur benefit of the doubt because of who his brother is? No, honestly, I'm not. I think it's because he has been the offensive coordinator under Sean McVay. So for that reason, I'm saying he's the real deal.
So I'm going to go Nepo on this one. You make a great argument, but I'll go Nepo because look at a little bit of his past. Like, he was the passing game coordinator and wide receivers position coach for the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan for several years. That did him well enough that he was then given the job of the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets in 2021. Where was Zach Wilson? He went 4-13. So after starting the 22 season with
Jets
7
problem.
wins and 4 losses, I mean, it was just
I'll
a
always
bad,
blame the
era.
Jets.
It was a bad era. It could be the Jets, but I'm just looking at somebody that did really well as the passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach for the San Francisco 49ers under ... Kyle Shanahan, and is now doing really well as the Rams offensive coordinator under ... Sean McVay. So I just right now, it looks today to me like he makes a hell of a much better Robin than he does a Batman in an offense. Let's get one more in. Chris Shula, while we're talking about, it's amazing how many Rams coaches are in this conversation. Chris Shula, Rams defensive coordinator, real deal, Nepo baby, what say you?
No, I think Chris Shula is the real deal. And this is kind of the opposite argument, right? Because I've said for so long with the Rams, we only focus on their offense because Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and Sean McVay is one of the brightest offensive minds in football. We only really focus on the Rams offensively. But the reason why the Rams are in the NFC Championship game and on their path to winning their second Super Bowl in 5 years is because of their defense, because of the development of their defense. And I'll use my own personal investment into this. Omar Spates is a guy who was not really a huge, contributing factor for the LSU defense when he was with LSU in 2023. I mean, that was historically the worst defense in the history of the LSU Tigers football program. Now you see Omar Spates consistently making plays for this Rams defense. Now, I think that's a big part because of Chris Shula and his development and his acknowledgement to know where to put players in the right positions to make the right kind of plays. I think Chris Shula, I understand the last name. If he was hired in Miami, I do think it would have been just like a little bit of Nepo, but I do think that Chris Shula is the real deal.
Yeah, he's coached linebackers, he's coached defensive backs, he's coached the pass rush, he's coached linebackers again, and now he's running the defense. He's been here for a minute. He's grown under McVay. I think you're right. He's the real deal. We did get some quick
coaching the last
coaching
15
news
years.
yesterday. Yeah, I mean, 100%. He's earned whatever's going to come next for him. Some news to get you updated on. Brian Flores signed a contract extension with the Minnesota Vikings to remain their defensive coordinator if he doesn't land a head coaching gig. This is something that, Caroline, you and I said for the last month. Every time we've been asked, where's Flores going to go in every episode of this show, our answer has been back to Minnesota as the defensive coordinator. This feels like the right fit for him and the right fit for the team to me.
I love this from Minnesota. even with all of the quarterback mess that we have going on with JJ McCarthy. Is he going to develop into a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL? Can he stay healthy? I mean, the Vikings offense has been a mess, but what has been the consistent factor for the Vikings? Their defense is going to be nasty. Why was Minnesota often in games or even winning games? I look at that Christmas Day game against the Lions. They won that game because of what they did defensively. And that is so much credit to Brian Flores. So I think that Minnesota, while they figure out what they want to do at the quarterback position, Brian Flores can be like, look, I got it. I got you. I got this side of the ball. I can take care of business defensively. You take your time figuring out what you got going on with the quarterback position. So I love this from Minnesota.
Yeah, this is a big get from Minnesota as they can focus on what they need to fix, and we all know exactly what that is. All right, coming up, we will, from all the Sean McVay talk we've had, what if we told you we are about to tell you who the next Sean McVay is? That's right. We'll do it next.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Chimaev versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary. 100%. Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not.
No.
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
Got some breaking news here. Adam Schefter tweeting out the Bills are scheduled to interview Jags offensive coordinator Grant Udinski for their head coaching opening Sunday, per sources. Prior to that, Udinski will have a second head coach interview on Friday with the Browns. Now, many of you may be saying, who in the hell is Grant Udinski? And you wouldn't be alone in that because as of a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure most people knew. But for anyone not paying attention, he's been the offensive coordinator for the Jags and literally just turned 30 years old. He's one of 2 head coaching candidates right now, he and Davis Dragon Webb, that are both 30 years old, which has us thinking about Sean McVay, because Sean McVay was 30 years old when he got the Rams job. Now all of a sudden we're looking at it and we're trying to figure out which one of these 2 men can be the next McVay, or maybe both. Let's start with Udinski. So when you look at Udinski, Caroline, what experience do you see that pulls him in that makes you think he could be the next McVay?
Well, not a lot. But what does stand out to me is he's coached with offensive gurus. He started his career at Baylor with Matt Rule, followed him to Carolina. Now, let's remember, it wasn't necessarily the greatest tenure in Carolina, but still working with a very well-respected head coach, at least in college football spaces. And then he makes the leap to Kevin O'Connell. And I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the most brilliant offensive coaches that we have in the NFL. And then he gets experience coaching with Liam Cohen, who also has experience coaching under Sean McVay, who worked with Baker Coachmaker. So he has connections to very well-respected offensive masterminds in this sport who come from the tutelage of some of the most respected offensive masterminds in this sport. So that's what stands out to me, is his connections and the tree from which he comes.
Yeah, I mean, because if the question is why is he qualified, my answer, to be honest, is hell if I know. And I think we need more of this right now when we start talking about some of these head coaching candidates, because, you know, frankly, being a head coach, as you and I talk about often, is so different than being a coordinator. It's just everything about it is different. The job responsibilities, the approach to the locker room, the way you need to interact with certain players, everything changes when you're a head coach. I think we need more, I'm not sure, sort of answers from some of this. And it's important here because look at this resume. We had it on the graph, but there's very little proof of concept to actual work that is just his. If you're looking at just his work, then we're talking about a Jags offense that, you know, was very good at times and also very weird at times. That we're talking about Trevor Lawrence took a little bit of time to sort of assimilate into that offense. I don't know. I mean, the reality of it is, if your favorite team hires Grant Udinski, then go out there and be wildly happy and hope that they've identified something. But this is just one of the most blind hires I think we will have seen in a very long time in the NFL. This is certainly going to be, did he come in with a plan and an energy and a vibe in the meeting that just blew people away? And if he did, good on him. Let's see how that plays out. But man, this feels like the biggest crapshoot I can remember of a coaching candidate, given his youth and given his lack of experience at a higher level.
Grant Udinski and I are around the same age. He's like a year older than me. I can't imagine being the head coach of an NFL franchise. I can't imagine being the coach of guys that are older than me, people that are older than me. You're supposed to be the one commanding the group and, you know, building camaraderie, demanding respect. That's really hard. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm saying me being, you know, his contemporary, that would be a really overwhelming and intimidating thing for me to do. And I think it would be an overwhelming and intimidating thing for anyone to do in any of their respective fields. So to your point, the proof of concept is not vast. I think a lot of people are trying to chase the next McVay. Was Sean McVay great? Is Sean McVay great because he got hired at 30 years old? Or is it just because he's a savant? I don't know if it was because he got hired at 30 years old. I think Sean McVay is just special.
So let's take a look at another candidate that some think could be special. His name is Davis. We call him Dragon. Davis Dragon Webb. We learned that from a former teammate. So Dragon Webb here, look at the career timeline, and we're looking at what experience qualifies him. Caroline, here's one caveat I would add to this as I ask you what the experience looks like. I watched a pretty in-depth interview yesterday with him where he talked about what he learned by having 6 different offensive coordinators during the course of his NFL career. It was pretty interesting to hear him break down what he learned from each of those different offenses, how each of those different brilliant offensive minds had different things that they did in their playbook. It made me at least a little bit more encouraged on I understand that he's already sort of been a coach in the room. We've heard that from a former teammate. You know, we've heard those reports of his relationship with Josh Allen, that he was running meetings and that he was a player, a coach as a player even then. So even though he's 30, he does have a ton of experience in different offenses. I'm talking myself into this. How do you feel about Davis Dragon Webb?
Well, and not even just experience with offensive coordinators. I mean, he has experience with Eli Manning and has experience with Josh Allen. Like, you can learn by osmosis when learning, you know, the processes of some of the best quarterbacks that we've seen over the last couple of decades in the NFL. I do think, you know, we talk about Grant Udinski. Can he command respect from a locker room of guys that are 32, 34, 36 years old? I think the difference for Dragon is he's played in the league. Like, he has the skins on the wall. He's been there. I got to see that firsthand when I covered the Tennessee Titans, when I covered Mike Vrabel and his tenure there. And of course, Mike Vrabel was much older, had much more experience being an assistant coach and a coordinator, both at the college and the NFL levels. But there was a certain sense of and level of respect that his players had for him because they knew that he'd been there before. Now, look, Mike Vrabel had a much longer and much more successful career in the than Dragon had, but still, there's that sense of that idea of you went through the draft process, you've been through training camp, you've gotten cut before, like you've gone through the grind of what it's like to be a player in this league. So I think that that's incredibly valuable. And look, he's taken a guy in Bo Nix, who I didn't even think was an NFL quarterback, and turned him into a guy that's gotten a team to the postseason in back-to-back years. I think that's pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of this, you're right, the playing is a big part of what why I view a little bit different here for Dragon than I do for Grant Udinski. I think we have to understand there's a bit of a difference here between the two because of that. Now, that being said, the great question is which one's going to end up being the next McVay. The hardest part about that question is I don't know what the structure is going to be around him. But there is a part of me, Caroline, that actually has started to come around on the concept of a young guy coming in and doesn't know what he's up against, right? So maybe that's the reason. I just think that the true answer to when they'll be successful is who knows. We're always going to be honest about who knows. We'll see with Udinski coming in. We'll see if that who knows. We could have breaking news by tomorrow on what the future of Grant Udinski looks like. In the meantime, let's get back to the NBA. Coming up next, we will get all things that you need to know about the trade deadline out. Next, Grant Liffmann going to join the show. We'll figure out what's going on with that man and that team.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knipple. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
Steph Curry is the only all-star starter that's over 31 years old. Curry is the lone starter representative of the old guard. That tweet from Grant Liffmann. Grant, NBA on NBC Insider, joins us right now to break everything down. Grant, really appreciate your time. Let's start with Steph. Our Tom Haverstow came on our show this week, laid out why he thinks the Jimmy Butler injury opens the door for Steph Curry trades. In your mind, any shot that Steph Curry is about to be traded?
No, Steph Curry is not being traded. I don't know if I have to elaborate on that, but Steph Curry's not going anywhere.
Why? Why? I mean, you're laughing, but like, hey, this is we know where everybody is now. Everybody's using trade machines. Everybody's like figuring out wild ways to change the league. So why are you so confident that Steph is going to remain?
I mean, Steph Curry represents everything that the Warriors are about. He is the Warriors organization. Even if you don't want him, I mean, you can go from anywhere from what he means to the organization historically, what he means currently, or even what he means to the business side. He is the athlete that represents the NBA across the world for many different countries. He's the #1 jersey seller. He represents everything that is good about the locker room behind the scenes. He set the tone and the culture there for many years, and he's still playing at a level that's so good that he was just voted a starter in the All-Star game. So there's just no world in which the Warriors would consider trading Steph.
Let a girl who lives in Charlotte dream about Steph potentially coming to the Hornets. But sticking with the Golden State Warriors, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy had an absolute bar the other day when he said, in order to fulfill a trade demand, there has to be some demand for you, answering a question about Jonathan Kuminga. So there's been a lot of speculation about, will Jonathan Kuminga get dealt at the trade deadline? Then the Jimmy Butler injury happens. So with all of that in mind, what will the Warriors actually do at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I know that comment went around, and I get it. You know, you don't usually hear from a GM that's so honest out there, but it's been such a weird saga with Jonathan Kuminga, and usually things aren't as public as they are too. Like his agent speaking to the media and tweeting out, and it's just he made his media tour during the offseason. It's been such an odd saga with Jonathan Kuminga. So another moment, another quote didn't surprise me. So for Kuminga, I don't think the calculus has changed much over there in Golden State. I know he's going to be playing maybe a little bit more. Obviously, he did. He got into the rotation with Jimmy Butler out the other day. But at the end of the day, the two sides aren't aligned. They really aren't. I know people point directly to Steve Kerr, but I think it's more than that. I think at the end of the day, the way Kuminga plays, his style, the way he thinks the player he is versus what the Warriors need of him and how the Warriors play, it's just not a fit. There's been so many, usually a player doesn't get 5 years down the road and he still has quote unquote potential before you say, hey, like we need to make a divorce, we need to separate here and each go our separate ways. It's rare that something goes this long. And so at this point, I think they all know the writing's on the wall. They need a separation. They will try to get it done before the trade deadline. That's the goal, absolutely. But as Mike Dunleavy very honestly said, there needs to be demand. And I do know there are teams that want him, but that doesn't mean that they're saying, hey, I want to give over these assets or these players that you crave because we want him. No, there's teams that are interested in him that would definitely take him. It's just a matter of what type of demand is there that make it worth it for the Warriors to actually just give it away. Because at the end of the day, they don't have many contracts to move. Let's say they aren't moving Steph Curry. Let's say I ended that one right there. They don't want to Jimmy Butler's contract right there. Draymond Green also, they don't want to move his contract. The next contract that makes it movable is Jonathan Kuminga. So they're not just going to give away if they think they can get something bigger in the offseason. Because also remember, Jonathan Kuminga going into the offseason, there's a team option on his contract. So it's about $24 million. So at the end of the day, the Warriors do have a lot of flexibility and optionality with him that make it wiser to just do the right thing rather than just getting off of him.
All right, so let's stick in the division and talk a little bit of Lakers. Obviously, big piece yesterday, explosive. Baxter Holmes wrote on the ownership and some of the controversy, but that included some friction between LeBron and Jeanie Buss, the governor of the team. So when you look at all of these, do you see writing on the wall that there's maybe a break coming between the Lakers and LeBron?
Yeah, I read what you guys did too, and obviously it's some explosive stuff in there. And there's been murmurs behind the scenes for a long time of some issues behind the scenes, obviously with the family. We've seen the documentaries about that, and obviously they fired the Buss brothers, and that was just a lot about just issues behind the scenes, just in the front office as well. I know they made it about family dynamics, but there also is just there is just not the right chemistry happening in the front office for the scouting department. So when it comes down to this, when it comes down to LeBron, I don't think about, obviously there's some, again, as I said, explosive information in that article, But for me, it comes down to just basketball sense when they deal with LeBron. And I don't think emotions are going to get in the way. I think at the end of the day, this is going to be a LeBron decision about whether or not he wants to be part of the Los Angeles Lakers. And so it's just one of those, does LeBron feel like there's somewhere else that he can be that's good for his legacy and for winning, for his life? Remember, his son plays with him on the Lakers, and obviously he lives in LA and his whole life is built out there. Or does he feel like somewhere else could be a place that he could just really be the player he wants to end his career? Now, you have to keep in mind that trading him is not easy, especially because of his contract. And I know it's the sexy thing to kind of put him back to Cleveland or all these places, but it's almost impossible to get him there during the season because of the second apron that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in and all the different apron things that they would have to deal with to get him somewhere that he wants to be. I know there's rumors in the past about LeBron to Golden State. Again, I don't know if that's something that could possibly happen during the season. To me, he's a free agent at the end of this year. I would guess he plays out the rest of this year and then decides. But hey, you also, I mean, no one knows if LeBron's playing another season after this year. So there's a lot left to be seen there. But I don't know if the Jeanie LeBron part of it is something that's going to lead to any separation.
Put yourself in the shoes of a Lakers fan for a moment. You know, LeBron's future question mark, whether it's in LA or if it's not in LA. You know, we just read the article about the Bus family dynamic and maybe lack thereof at certain point in time. If you're a Lakers fan, how do you feel about the organization's future?
Well, you know, if I was going back 1 year ago, almost 1 year ago to the day, I think February 2nd last year, I would be a little concerned about where this is going. They had assets, but they had an aging LeBron, a hurt AD, etc. Then Luka gets traded to their team. And honestly, because of that, if I'm a Lakers fan, I feel good no matter what, because there are a few players in this league that can just win you a championship just by being on the team, and Luka Doncic is one of those guys. And right now, the future is bright. He's young. He's under contract. And to me, that's enough to be confident for the future. Now, my concerns would be team building and making sure that the right pieces are in place and the processes are in place to get the right pieces around Luka to make that happen. But from everything I'm hearing with Mark Walter buying the team, they're really, I mean, for the lack of a better way of saying this, the Dodgerification of the team. The Dodgers executives are coming in and trying to audit the team and try to figure out what can make this team function like a high-level functioning organization, like it should be, the Los Angeles Lakers. And so they're going to come in and try to bring this team into the future and put the right pieces in place and the processes in place to make this a team like the Dodgers that have just taken over baseball. And that's where, if I'm a fan, I am very excited about the future of this team. Maybe it's not this season. Maybe they aren't going to win a championship this season. But moving forward, I would say this team's going to do a lot of the right things because of who's in charge. And also, you know, this team going into the offseason has an opportunity to really reset most of their team. Like most of their team are free agents. They have a big decision coming up on Austin Reeves. But otherwise, there's a reset coming for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think that should excite Lakers fans.
So as somebody that covers the league and somebody that's plugged into everything, when you are thinking about the trade deadline a couple of weeks from now, who are you constantly checking your phone to see, oh my God, this guy's going to get moved? Who do you have on your radar?
I still think Anthony Davis is going to get moved, honestly. I think there's enough interest out there. I think the fact that he is not going to be lost for the season with his recent injury, I think Dallas at the end of the day would like to just move on and be done with this, their own saga, which is, you know, obviously shorter than the Kuminga one and a lot bigger of a deal. Like, this is a player that when healthy is one of the better players in the league, but when healthy is the big issue. And I think Anthony Davis is somebody that can definitely help a team down the stretch. I think with, you know, a lot of teams are, and a lot of rumors go about John Morant and Trae Young obviously got moved, and people look at point guards. But very rarely does a team who's contending trade for a lead guard like that at the deadline because they have to redo their entire offense and they have to redo everything because you really are you orbit around the point guard. In this case, Anthony Davis, you can actually plug into a team when healthy and just actually probably be more seamless. Now, yes, he is, you have to give him the ball, you have to do these things, but he's also a lob threat, he's a defensive beast, all these things when he's healthy. So I do think you can plug and play and put him in there and just be better immediately. And I think there are teams, especially in the East, that would look at him and say, hey, this is our chance to kind of make a little bit of noise. This is our chance to get somebody like him. And also keep in mind, he wants a contract extension. So maybe there's a team that in a free agency, Anthony Davis would not consider going to. But right now, if you trade for him and give him that max deal, he's all in. And so I do think he is somebody that at the end of the day, I would lean more towards him being moved than not being moved.
So Fitz will ask you about individual players. I'll ask you about teams. Is there a specific team or teams that you expect or in your opinion think should be active at the trade deadline?
It's a really good question. I think at the end of the day, the question for some teams are like, you have these great building blocks. You're young and you're explosive. And I'm going to give an example of the Detroit Pistons. They have the assets to make a trade. They are playing incredible basketball. Do you mess with it or do you actually make a move? And I think it does depend on who's available, et cetera. But, they're a team that I would watch as just, they can go for something. They could, if they wanted to, go for Anthony Davis. They could go for Michael Porter Jr. I think MPJ actually would fit them well because they actually need more shooting. And at the end of the day, when you get into the playoffs, shooting really, really does matter. And so teams like that are the ones that are the biggest question marks for me. Could they just swing big and go for it? The Warriors were the team that I was going to say, no matter what, we're going to make some moves because they felt like they were on the precipice of being a championship contender. That has changed dramatically. Could they still make some small moves? For sure. But really, at the end of the day, you kind of look around and it's more about teams offloading. There is some discontent with how things are going this season so far in Cleveland. And could they make a move? Sure. Is it harder? Yes, because they're in the second apron. But I would also then look at the teams jockeying in the West and say there are some teams that just they know they're below the Oklahoma City Thunder. They know they're below the Denver Nuggets when they're healthy. And so can they make a move to actually kind of jumpstart their season a little bit more? That's possible as well. But there's a chance this one's not full of fireworks. Obviously we saw the craziest trade in NBA history with Luka last year, so it's hard to beat that one. But yeah, it may not be these massive trades that people assume. At the end of the day, the truth is it is so much easier to make trades in the offseason. It just is, especially with this new apron system. I know that's not the most fun thing and exciting thing to say, but it's just the truth.
Grant, we got to get you out of here. I know that. 30 seconds or less. Giannis, still a buck after the trade deadline?
Yes. I'd be shocked if the Milwaukee Bucks and everything fell apart so much that they moved Giannis before the deadline. Giannis is just he represents everything to that organization. Until Giannis comes to them and says, you better move me right now, they aren't moving him. They're going to hold on as long as possible. And at the end of the day, it also is just it would be smart to wait to the offseason because there'd be way more teams that could get involved. And I'd be absolutely shocked. But again, I'm going to reference this one more time. When I woke up to the news that Luka Doncic got traded last year, I checked 18 times to make sure that wasn't fake news. I'm still, so anything that happened in the NBA, and that's the exciting part. But my goodness, that one still, I'm still was that real? Did that actually happen? But by the way, it happened.
We were all worried we were getting scammed on that one. Follow him on Twitter, X. He is real, at Grant Liffmann. Grant, we really appreciate your expertise. Thanks for hanging out with us, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Grant.
Great stuff from Grant. And look, Caroline, it speaks to this trade deadline, which is going to happen in about a week and a half. And the funny thing is, everybody wants there to be tremendous drama because we got Luka last year. I don't know, maybe there will be, but I just think that there's a real chance that we're sitting here on February 6th after the trade deadline saying, it's fine. It just feels like the summer is going to be much more wild than the next week and a half is to me.
Yeah, never say never, because to Grant's point, nobody expected that Luka news. But I do wonder what kind of a cautionary tale that may be to general managers across the association of, look, whenever you trade away the heart and soul of an organization, your fan base will riot, and it might cost you your job. Now, Steph and LeBron and Giannis might be a little bit different because Luka was traded in his prime, and Giannis and Steph and LeBron are on the closer to or on the other side of it, but still cornerstones of their respective organizations.
Yeah, it's just a reminder that there's a lot of elements to this, and the fan voice is more powerful, right or wrong, than it's ever been before. All right, we will be back right here tomorrow at 9 a.m. for more Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fett, and I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks so much for watching. Tell a friend. Come back, see us tomorrow. Thanks.
Give us your breakout fighters of 2026.
You're not going to believe that. Number one is Manchester top teams, Atiba Gutierrez. I think he's going to be the next big African star, already is.
He's chiseled out of stone. He's got unbelievable power, great skill, huge for the weight class. Very, very impressive. And again, you speak to the guys over at Manchester Top Team, they could not be more excited about his potential.
Usually I would dunk on a team that's 8-9 going to the playoffs. You don't deserve it. For Carolina, celebrate it. This was a big step forward season. However you got there, you wanted some hope. You wanted something to be happy about. You backed into it, fine. I don't care. The Panthers did have some quality wins this year. They did seem to be making progress. So for the Panthers, hey, step forward, good job, celebrate it. It's a really nice year for the Carolina Panthers to win this division no matter how they did it.
I don't know how anyone could expect Kalen DeBoer to get Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it, because he's not going to. I would suggest to you that had Nick Saban stuck around at Alabama, he wasn't getting Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it a decade prior. And that's Nick literal Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart's getting Georgia back to what Georgia was a few years ago. Dabo's not going to get Clemson back to what Clemson was. It's almost like the entire world has changed.
Oh, let's get to another factory of sadness. The Atlanta Falcons, who fired Raheem Morris after 2 8-9 seasons.
You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. That was what Raheem Morris said when they asked him, why did you take this job?
Yep.
And
That's
you still
it.
got those guys. And you still got those two guys.
Give us your breakout fighter.